As April begins, both President Biden and former President Trump are kicking their fundraising efforts into high gear. The president is coming off a star-studded New York City extravaganza last week, raising an eye-popping $25 million. Now, Trump is vowing to top that number. But his fundraising efforts are already taking a hit because of his mounting legal fees. That includes the $175 million bond in his New York civil fraud case, which the former president is expected to pay this week. We have our team of experts ready to give us insight into the election. NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hillyard is here with me on set. We're also joined by our senior national politics reporter, Jonathan Allen. Vaughn, let's start with you. So Trump says he wants to hold a fundraiser of his own this upcoming weekend at this Mar-a-Lago estate, wants to raise $33 million. What do we know about this?
Right. John knows just how important this back and forth is here. And for Donald Trump, just 1 week after that New York City fundraiser, to come in with they're aiming for is $33 million is notable, primarily because they have a list of big billionaire-type figures, folks that were key to Donald Trump's campaigns in 2016 and 2020. Depending on what part of the country you're from, you may recognize some of these names. You've got Harold Hamm, you got Woody Johnson, Kelly Loeffler, the Mercer family. These are the type of figures that are going to be down there donating as much as more than $800,000. And these are funds that not only go to the campaign, some of the funds go to the Save America PAC, which is this organization that has helped Donald Trump with legal expenses, as well as the RNC to potentially help with some of those down ballot races. So for Donald Trump, a senior campaign official acknowledged just last week that they're not going to be able to match the Biden campaign dollar for dollar, saying they will be out fundraised the next 7 months. At the same time, they said they will fundraise at least enough money to be able to pull off a win in November.
So, John, this comes after President Biden brought in that record $25 million during his fundraiser last year in New York at Radio City Music Hall. New campaign filings also showed the president has more than double the amount available cash in his campaign account compared with Trump. Walk us through why fundraising is so important here at this point in the campaign, 7 months before the election. I mean, what do these numbers tell us?
Well, Joe, I mean, the first thing is it takes a lot of money over a long period of time in order to run a campaign. You reserve ad time early. You build up your presence in the various states. Obviously, these two candidates are going to spend most of their time, most of their money in the handful of swing states that end up determining close elections. And basically, from a historical perspective, our elections dating back to at least 2000 have been pretty close. So the money allows you to do all the things that you need to do to campaign. The Trump campaign acknowledges, when you talk to them behind the scenes, they acknowledge that they're not going to raise as much money as Joe Biden in this election cycle. They didn't raise as much money as him last time, but they believe that they'll have enough to compete. We'll have to see. This fundraiser, as Vaughn said, a lot of big, bold, marquee names going out to help Trump. I think particularly notable is that several of them were people who were against him or had moved away from him in the past, now coming back into the fold.
Vaughn, let's talk about legal costs. Trump says that $175 million bond from the civil case, he will pay it in time. He had 3 more days left, basically, to pay it, 10 days from last Monday. But how much are these legal costs, the legal fees, the penalties, impacting his campaign?
It's absolutely impacting the campaign because they're seeking financial support, not only for those legal bills. Already more than $80 million have been moved from that super PAC, or I should say that leadership PAC, this organization that could have gone to support his political efforts, but those have been moved in order to cover legal expenses over the last 2 years. That's more than $80 million already. But some of the donations, if you're out there in the country and you're donating to Donald Trump a couple $1,000s, the first couple thousand will go to the campaign. Then the next couple thousand will go towards that organization that have been covering legal expenses, but also even those big donors as well. Donald Trump has been seeking cash to help cover that $175 million bond. He already had that $93 million bond that he had to cover for the E. Jean Carroll defamation judgment. And so for Donald Trump, this is all coming to a head 7 months out from the general election. This is tough financial times for him, and especially the fact that he still has 4 criminal trials pending, including the first one on April 15th. This is all in real time.
Just 2 weeks away from that one. Of course, all this money matters because of advertising, John. And the Biden campaign released a digital ad that's aimed directly at Nikki Haley's supporters. Now, that advertising is going to run for 3 weeks in several battleground states. What's the strategy here? Are these voters considered up for grabs? I know there's a theory some of these Nikki Haley voters did vote for Biden nearly 4 years ago.
There's no doubt. It's not just a theory, Joe. Having talked to voters in a bunch of the early primary states, there were definitely a lot of Democrats who voted for Nikki Haley. There were also some Republicans who voted for Nikki Haley who voted for Joe Biden last time around. And there are some Republicans who voted for Nikki Haley who voted for Donald Trump last time. These voters, this set of voters includes people who you would consider swing voters or persuadable voters. I think that's what Joe Biden is going after. There is no doubt that there is some universe of people that are available for him to pick off who supported Nikki Haley, and obviously somewhat available because they don't like Donald Trump. They certainly didn't like him as their first choice in the Republican primary. So that's one big target of voters. Obviously, Democrats are going to spend a lot of money and energy trying to find people who already agree with them, who don't usually vote, and trying to get them out, trying to make sure that they get the kind of turnout that they got last time. But these Haley voters are part of that universe of people who are available.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.